Okay, perfect. Okay, so good evening from Mexico City, good morning, good afternoon to all of our participants from all over the world, and welcome to the fifth episode of La Historia Olvidada, Filipinas, Mexico 2025. Before we begin, I'd like to lay out some gentle house rules and reminders. We would like to kindly request that video cameras and microphones of all participants be disabled throughout the program and presentation. After our speaker's presentation, we will have an open forum wherein everyone is encouraged to ask questions or provide their comments. Participants may also state or write their questions in the chat box here in Zoom or in YouTube. Participants are also invited to fill out the evaluation form, which will be shared at the end of the session. With that said, I'd like to invite Her Excellency, Lilibet R. Diapera, Ambassador of the Philippines to Mexico, to deliver the welcome remarks. Ma'am?
To all our participants from different offices and universities in the Philippines and Mexico, members of the Diplomatic Corps, colleagues from other Philippine Foreign Service posts, Philippine honorary consuls, members of the Filipino communities under our jurisdiction, those who are joining us via our YouTube channel, dear friends and colleagues at the Philippine Embassy in Mexico, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are, and welcome to the fifth episode of La Historia Olvidada, Filipinas, Mexico 2025. On behalf of the Embassy of the Philippines in Mexico, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to our esteemed guest speaker for the fifth episode of La Historia Olvidada, Filipinas, Mexico 2025, Dr. Amalia Ramirez Garaizal, Professor Researcher at the Intercultural Indigenous University of Michoacan, Mexico, who will be sharing her insights on Philippine and Mexican textile weaving traditions. My sincere appreciation also to Dr. Thomas Calvillo of El Colegio de San Luis for his invaluable support as our co-organizer of this evening's episode. For the benefit of our new participants, this initiative, in collaboration with the University of the Philippines, Diliman, El Colegio de San Luis, and the Philippine-Mexico Studies Program, based at the Universidad Nacional Autónoma de Mexico, was launched in October 2023 with the aim to highlight pivotal events and contexts that have shaped the engagements between the Philippines and Mexico, spanning from the 16th century to the contemporary period. It also aims to foster deeper academic, diplomatic, and cultural exchanges between the Philippines and Mexico, while highlighting the significance of the Manila-Acapulco galleons in forging ties and paving the way for early global trade. Last month, our resource speaker, Dr. Romeo Galang Jr., Assistant Professor at the Far Eastern University in Manila, talked about the bas-relief found at the Our Lady of Peace and Good Voyage Church in Antipolo, Manila. He explained how visual art can be used or was used as a tool for historical negationism. He examined how the Antipolo bas-relief were modified to reshape the public memory of the Chinese uprising against the Spaniards during the colonization period. Dr. Galang also shared that the revered image of Our Lady of Peace and Good Voyage originally came from Acapulco and made several trans-Pacific journeys aboard galleons between the Philippines and Mexico, underscoring the long-standing cultural and religious ties between the two nations. For tonight's episode, our resource speaker will delve into the rich parallels and enduring connections between the textile weaving traditions of the Philippines and Mexico that have been deeply shaped by centuries of cultural exchange, particularly through the historic Manila-Acapulco galleon trade. Without further delay, let's all listen closely to the presentation of Dr. Ramirez to gain deeper insights into this fascinating topic. Thank you very much. Maraming salamat po. Muchas gracias a todos. Mabuhay.
Thank you very much po, Ambassador Diapera. I'd like to invite now Mr. Ralph G. Roldan, First Secretary and Consul of the Philippine Embassy here in Mexico, to officially introduce our resource speaker for today's session. Sir Ralph.
Thank you, Nilo. It's my honor to introduce to everybody our speaker for tonight. Amaya Ramirez Garaizar is a professor researcher at the Intercultural Indigenous University of Michoacan, affiliated with the academic program in art and cultural heritage, archaeologist, master's degree in ethnic studies, and a PhD in history. Her current research projects include the record and inventory of artisanal production of the indigenous peoples of Michoacan and technical and aesthetic links between indigenous textiles of Mexico and the Philippines, past and present. Her research interests include past and present traditional indigenous knowledge, traditional artisanal work in Mexico, handmade textiles, including in Mexico and the Philippines, and cultural transfer between Mexico and the Philippines. She has published books, articles, and book chapters on the aforementioned topics. And of course, she has curated the concave convex phases of identity, which with Eva Maria Garrido, and on Abel on Philippine textiles under Unam Morelia Cultural Center. Please, let's all listen to our wonderful speaker for this evening, for this morning, Dr. Amaya Ramirez Garaizar.
Oh, thank you very much. I am honored to be here. I first would like to thank the Honorable Madam Lilibet R. de Apera, the Ambassador of the Philippines in Mexico, and also Mr. Ralph G. Roldan, First Secretary and Consul of the Embassy. Thank you for letting me share this part of my work and my interests and my passion towards the textiles traditions from Mexico and from the Philippines. I would love also to thank Dr. Tomás Calvillo, who was the person who approached me with the embassy, and I would like to thank him very much, and also to Marisa R. Winkley and Ariadne Zoe Abulok and Mr. Angie also. Well, as my predecessor said, I am sharing my research, part of my research on the past and the present of the relations of Mexican textiles with the Philippine textiles. I will share my presentation now, if you may. Okay, I guess we are here. No, you are watching the presentation, no? I am interested, of course, in the past of how the textiles become traditional in places with people, and these textiles are part of our dressing identities also, but also as merchandise. So when I was first interested in a piece of a garment of women in Mexico, which is very significant, we call it rebozo. So it is a kind of shawl Mexican women used to use in several centuries before this century. I came later with the idea, when I was checking about the typology of rebozos, of Mexican rebozos, I came upon with some techniques of weaving and of dyeing these rebozos that led me to the Philippines. So 15 years ago, my story, my love story with the Philippines and with the textile Philippines, the Philippine textiles started. 15 years ago, I was I was presented to this magnificent tradition of weaving in the country, and Since then, I have never abandoned the idea of researching anything else. So this is a passion for me, and please, you will, I ask you for your forgiveness if I am not as objective or as fluid in my English, and please forgive me for that. Estoy compartiendo. I don't know if I can, okay, let me, yeah. As you may know, the Galeón de Manila started as an enterprise that had an original idea. I don't know if you can see the arrow with it, that the idea of the Galeón, of this enterprise, was to have a lot, many merchandise, goods, items from Asia to Europe coming through Mexico, right? Well, the New Spain in those times. So the idea was to have a ship, a Galeón, to leave Acapulco, the Acapulco port, and to go to the Philippines, and in Manila collect those goods from several places of Asia, from India, China, Southeast Indonesia, and other places, collect those items, and then bring them back to Acapulco to, by land, transport those goods to the other port of Veracruz in the Atlantic Ocean, the Atlantic shore with Mexico, and then those items would go with the Flota de Indias to Europe, to Seville or to Cadiz in Spain. That was the original idea. So what kind of goods, what kind of merchandise would be interested the first merchants of this endeavor? Well, I am talking about this in the 16th century. So the items, the issues, the goods that we're interested in were, of course, Chinese silks, porcelains, ivory figurines and sculptures of religious, particularly Catholic sculptures for the cult. Indian, in the 18th century onwards, the Indian cottons and other stuff. The bulk, the complete bulk of this would be filled at the galleons and then travel eastwards to Acapulco. And as I said, they would be transported to the port of Veracruz, also in Mexico and then in Spain, and have another long trip to Europe. That was the original idea. Materials such as I said, ivory figurines, screens, Chinese or Japanese painted or painted and screens, as porcelains, of course, silks, embroidered and very luxurious fabrics. But what really happened, that was the original idea the merchants had. But what really happened was that the bulk, almost the complete bulk of the galleon stayed in America, stayed in Mexico or in the New Spain. A very short part of the bulk went to by land to Veracruz, and almost like the crumbs of all the bulk went to Europe. Of course, Spanish merchants were not happy with that. But what is this telling us for now? One, what was the other part of the galleon? Well, from the Philippines, from Manila, the boat was full with those items I told you, but for payment, it was the silver that was excavated, was produced in Mexico, not in Europe. So the country, well, in those times were not a country, but the colony, the viceroyalty of New Spain had enough money to buy all those Asian goods that were so precious for Mexican and American population. So instead of going to Europe, those goods incorporated to the culture and to the daily life, of course, of the wealthiest citizens, but also not only for wealthies, but to different, to other parts of this social pyramid of the New Spain. What happened? What also transported the Manila galleon? What also transported was the migrants, the resident migrants, as free people or trafficked as slaves in both territories. You know, these migrants were key for the cultural roots, still present in some features. So it's only the historiography, the studies of the history of the Manila galleon. It's only recently, maybe 15 years from now, that are targeting the point of the people, not only the goods, not only the bulk of the ships, but also the people who from Asia came to this continent, to America, and particularly in Mexico, and from Mexico went to the Philippines. So these migrants were key, as I say. In this, with people and their knowledge and their culture, we can also have some features of material culture that speaks about these cultural roots. I will address only some of them, like the spaces and churches, for example. I'm sorry. And from the shape of the facades of some churches in the Philippines and also in Western Mexico that share this kind of features, like this triangle shape of the facades are not, we cannot find them in other places of the Catholic world, but in the Philippines and some places, some areas of Western Mexico. So that is a form of cultural hybridization that can be telling us about these roots, shared roots. What other things? Well, food, of course, like tamales, right? The picture of the left is a picture of tamales from the Philippines, and the picture of the right is tamales from Mexico. The shape, the way of cooking, it's and the materials are it's very similar. So, of course, tamales are even registered as a very, very, very old traditional food from Mexico that went, even the name tamal is from a original language from Mexico, Nahuatl. So it is a feature that Mexicans share with the Filipinos. And what else? Of course, binato, I'm sorry, I don't know if it's, I don't remember if it's binato or binato, but it's also a shared feature of our food, our traditional foods that in the Philippines is, I guess, is people eat it like a treat, but in Mexico, it's a very important dish of our celebratory food. We call it pozole, and in Western Mexico, it's a very, very important dish for birthdays and Mother's Days and even Christmas. In Western Mexico, we used to have pozole as a feast food. So the way of preparing the corn seeds, it's of course not only corn, but the way of preparing is a feature of the cultural Mexican root that went and hybridized in the Philippines, some places in the Philippines. As I asked here, what other cultural features in the Philippines do you know that came from Mexico, that went from Mexico? Well, I have some pictures like here, like in the vegan one, in the Ilocos region, a dish, a very delicious dish, the pipián, which is made with several Mexican ingredients, including pasotis or epazote. It's a very, very firm root from Mexican origin that is a part of the Ilocano traditional food. And of course, camote, that even the name camote is not only the plant, but not only the root, but the name of the root, it's from Mexican language. But we have the other way around. What cultural features in Mexico we have that came from the Philippines? We have plenty, but I am just addressing some of them. For example, the cockfight. In Mexico, we have, well, people in particularly in Western Mexico, it is a very, very common and important and popular tradition still nowadays. So we have in this slide in the left a lithograph from the mid 19th century, the exterior de una gallera, or the outer part of a place where the cockfights are, and the right photo is a early 20th century photo in Mexico that are two men fighting, well, making fight their cocks. So it is a very important tradition that we know that came from the Filipino people, and we hybridized here. Also, the tuba, that I am signaling here the name of the Colima. This is a place, the state, where is more important, the tuba, which now here in Mexico, it's a long tradition, as my colleague Paulina Machuca have studied very thoroughly. So tuba in Mexico is, of course, a feature, a cultural feature brought by Filipino settlers. So, in 250 years of being linked by a colonial imposition and a commercial route, do you think there are other possible cultural relations among these two countries? Well, I guess you think the answer is yes, and of course you are right. Well, this is a map of Mexico for those who are not from this country. Mexico is a big country. It's located in the south of the United States, and with frontiers with Belize and Guatemala by the south. We have 32 states, and as I am signaling here, this is the port of Acapulco. So we are at, well, Acapulco, we consider the states, this area of the Pacific, the Western Mexican Pacific. This is the area with more features of cultural roots from the Philippines or from Asia, in Mexico, and I will tell you later why. Of course, the settlers, the migrants, forced or not, came to the port of Acapulco, and some of them stayed in the nearby area, or they were distributed around this area in a big area. So this is Mexico, and also, you know, I guess you are watching the arrow, but the route of the galleon was coming down from California, now in the United States, and going down this area. So the goods of the traffic of the Manila galleon could be found in all the territory that the galleon was going through because of the contraband. But that is a different history. So what other, as my question was, I am going back a little bit. What other possible cultural relations were among these two countries? Well, one of them refers to the colonial interests, not only the local people in the traditional cultures, but to the commercial cultivation of the colonial interest. For example, indigo dye. Before the industrial era, the dyes were all taken from mineral or natural sources. So the indigo is a plant, as you can see in the left picture, is a plant that grows in several parts. Here is, these photos are from a place called Niltepec in the state in Oaxaca, Mexico, that still have this cultivation of indigo and have the traditional process to make the dye. So the Spaniards, particularly in the 18th century, had a very important interest with dyes and indigo dye. So they had lots of big plantations of indigo to produce this dye. What happened in Mexico in early years of the 19th century, Mexico became independent, an independent republic. So the strategy of the Spanish was to go to other places, and take the plantation, the commercial plantation from America to the Philippines. So, but the early experience was in Mexico and in Guatemala and in Salvador. To the Guatemala and El Salvador are in the south of Mexico. So this area was a very important area for the plantations of indigo in the 18th century. But these pictures are from, I don't know, 5 or perhaps 4 or 5 years ago that I've been there in Miltepec. So what is the tradition is to grow the plant and then cut like this. The man is cutting the plant and then go take the plant to the indigo plant to a vat, to big vats, and to fill it, and then pour water on it, and within 24 hours, they dump the water, which is also colored, well, not colored, but full with a component indigotina from the indigo plant. And then after that water, not the plant, the water is beaten very vigorously until the chemic process is completed, and then the decantation process is fulfilled. And after that, they, you look, this is like the ink, the indigo like an ink. And after that, they dry this material and they could transport it, they can transport it and sell it. So this process, this colonial imposition, this colonial interest went from Mexico to the Philippines, not because of people wanted, local people wanted, but for commercial interest of the Spaniards, particularly after they were, they were no longer the rulers of America, right? But other feature or other cultural features that we share, not only the materials and colonial interests, commercial interests, but what this is the most important part for me of that roots that we share is traditional knowledge. You know, people, when we travel as migrants or as enslaved people, we bring our brains and our knowledge with us. No matter if we are like naked, that we cannot bring with us any material goods, but we have our own knowledge. And knowledge is sometimes, or in those areas, in those times, I mean, were not from school, but from tradition. So something that we can notice as something marvelous happened, it's like the same tradition on weaving was growing in Mexico and in the Philippines at the same time. So these are women, person on the left of a woman weaving on the backstrap loom, and a person in the backstrap loom from the Philippines. And as process, as technology are so similar, they are the same process of weaving. So what we know for material record in Mexican cultures, Mexican native cultures, we have records of a very, very ancient tradition of backstrap weaving. So we notice in the codex like Maya culture codex, and also the Aztec or Mexicas codex, but also the figurines are telling us that this tradition was growing and was not growing. It was in splendorous at the time when Spaniards came to America. But also in the Philippines, you have some samples of material culture that make us know that the backstrap loom weaving and dyeing tradition was, of course, splendorous too, like this Banton Cave telang from the 14th century. As you may see, this fragment that is in the National Museum of Anthropology in Manila, it is a very complex dyeing and dyeing technique that make these patterns that are not those are not patterns from the weaving, but from the dyeing of the telang, the Banton Cave telang. So we also share traditions from the other ways of weaving, like the treadle loom or pedal loom in the Philippines at the left and in Mexico at the right. It's very, very also, but in Mexico, this is a very well known that it's a technology, the treadle loom, brought by the Spaniards from Europe. Now let's see the iconography of some of the weavings. Can you see this complex brocade iconography decoration of some of the some rebozos from the state I live in, from Michoacan? They are with the backstrap loom in a brocade or supplementary weft decoration, and is from women, indigenous women of the place of Angawan. Now I want you to see this. These are the very, very similar, of course, iconography is not the same, but, and it's not, of course, not at all same, made or woven with the same technology. It's a different technology because these are Abel from Ilocos region, from the Santiago place. But what I am referring to, I'm sorry. What I am referring to is that some features are like independent variables, and some are dependent variables. So they are very similar with, it will be the iconography or the material or the technology in contemporary traditional textiles. So one of my biggest interests of my research is the ikat dyeing technique, because in Mexico, it is not as spread, as popular as in the Philippines. In Mexico, the ikat dyeing technique, which means that these designs made with in the process of the dyeing the warps of fabric, it is very, very limited to a type of garment. So I want to tell you, if you let me extend this to how I think the ikat dyeing in Mexico, I guess it came from the Philippines or from the Southeast Asia, but with the Manila galleon. So one of the my ideas is the reserved warps is the technical name of the ikat It's a tradition, stylistic fabric tradition that can be diffused, that it has a diffusion in the Southeast Asia, but also perhaps it came to America. For that, I would like to address that the textile field must be understood as a technological frame, where technology is the result of the use of some material, of course, textile materials, threads, plus technical know-how, plus tools. So these elements, I mean, the threads or the looms or the knowledge should not be taken as linear. They can be disassembled. For example, I can use silk for to weave a rebozo, but I can change that material to cotton, and I can do it. A weaver is able to do that. It is not the flexibility of the technology system is open to changes, right? To modification. So in tradition or in contemporary textiles. So what I see as textile links between Mexico and the Philippines goes in several levels. First, the technology and the iconography. For example, the use of a particular type of warpers for the backstrap loom. What is a warper? A warper is a tool where a weaver will prepare the thread for the warp. So there are a lot, there are many types of warpers according to culture and, I don't know, technologies so variated and all around the world. But this is, for example, a warper. This is the tool. It's like like a stick, a wooden stick that has other inserted sticks at the ends. It's a very simple tool. The warper, it's the part where when a weaver make the warp, it's preparing the length and the width of fabric. So the Purépecha is the indigenous people from the state of Michoacán, where I live. So this is a woman, her name is Berta Estrada. She is warping, preparing the thread for a rebozo. So I want you to look at the warper. So the Tiboli people have also, this is a warper, a very similar tool to work. Let me tell you that in Mexico, this warper is not common at all. This is very exceptional tool in Mexico, in traditional indigenous cultures. So when I see this, well, this is a very exceptional, as I told you, in the weaving technology, in the Mexican weaving technology, is very rare. But when I see this in the Philippines, oh, my eyes went so wide, because I noticed it is a very similar technology of warping, right? So, as I said, in technology, this can be traced as a link among the people from Mexico and the Philippines. With a simple tool as a warper, we can trace a path Another part of this technology is the ikat. I mean, the reserved verbs in the reserved dying verbs. This is in the Philippines. What is these patterns are made with knotted, this is the word of what is going to be later woven. So the ikat is the knotting of the threads of the work before is going to be dyed. So after that, when they dye the threads and they unknot this threads, you can see the pattern that is left. So this is not only from the Philippines, but from a lot of places in the world, but particularly significant in the Southeast Asia. So Indonesia and Malaysia, and of course the Philippines. But in America, it is not at all as common. And in Mexico, it is not common at all. It's only used, this is a warp, a man who is warping, who is knotting a warp in a place here in Michoacan, where I live. So it is only made for rebosos, as I told you, the shawls that women in Mexico use. So this technology, the ikat, is only for rebosos in Mexico and for anything else. So it is not an ancient tradition of the Mexican cultures. It is linked to the colonial imposition, but you know, this technique of ikat was not made in Spain for their own clothes. So and this is when he's tying, he's knotting these threads, and after that they dye, and when they undye, you notice the patterns for these threads, and after that they can weave and make garments like the garment of rebozo, right? And also the backstrap loom is something common to the Philippines and to Mexico, as I said. Let me check if I am going back. I'm sorry, but okay. So the warpers are a link. The ikat is a link, another from South Cotabato and Lanao del Sur, but also there are ikat tradition in northern Luzon, of course, and in Mexico, the rebozos. Only rebozos are ikat dyed in Mexico. Let me see if I put here. And these are the threads prepared to be later woven. It's also ikat dyed. Do you know where I took this photo? I took this photo last December in Lanao del Sur, in Calawi, the barangay Calawi in Lanao del Sur, which I was not able to visit until last December, because I've been in the Philippines several times, but I was not able to go to Lanao del Sur. So for me, this was a very important part of my research to watch the ikat tradition, also from the people from the Marawi. But so this is a rebozo. This is a shawl, Mexican shawl made with silk and Icat died. This is a historical rebozo, perhaps from the 18th or 19th century. So you can see it's a very complex dye technique. And that was something that it was, well, it was for the wealthy women, but not as uncommon. So in this December, when I went to Marawi City and I visited the Aga Khan Museum at Mindanao State University, I could also see not rebozos, but I forgot the name, malongs from, and also ikat dyed in a very complex pattern, like those. And this, I went to Bacolod, Talawi in Lanao del Sur, and I could see, of course, well, this is a very big blanket that a family had for sale, that it's a very complex ikat pattern, not only those that we know that when I've seen in the South Cotabato, which are from the Boli people, Tunalak, but in this type of also of weavings that I couldn't watch until this last December. So Sakn Sonaya Palau was the weaver that I met, that also she dyes with ikat and she weaves with the backstrap loom. So I guess there are traditions that go through the centuries from past to present, and I want you to see these are rebozos from the register, the historic register from Mexico. Look, that are also dyed with the complex techniques of ikat. Look, the picture in the left is a rebozo from the 19th century, but the picture from the right is a malong from the area of Marawi City. Can you see the iconography similarity? So that is why I think these traditions were linked somewhere between the 16th to the 19th century and went along, that came from the Philippines, from, I don't know, maybe the southern islands from the Philippines and installed in Mexico. When I told Ma'am, I'm sorry, I forgot her name, Sonaya, when I told Ma'am Sonaya that rebozos were in Mexico, women use the rebozos for carrying their children, like in the picture of the right, she told me, we do that also. We carry our children with our malongs. And she asked her son, and she's carrying her beautiful, beautiful baby. So the tradition, the knowledge, the iconography, and the technology can be traced and to the present and go back to the past. And the third, I'm sorry, oh, I have almost an hour of speaking, I'm sorry. The third element that I found, this element, the linguistics, I found it in the northern part of the Philippines, particularly in Ilocos. In Ilocos Sur, near, in the city of Bigan, in the language Ilocano, the work thread preparation process is called agatoli, which means to start in Ilocano. Where does this word come from? comes from the Nahuatl, from the central Mexico word atoli, which means like a watery. In Mexico, it's a beverage made with corn dough, mixed with water and cooked. Atolar is it's a verb. I mean, it's to, like agatoli, is an essential procedure for the preparation of the fiber before weaving. That means that in this case, the cotton needs to be synced and atoli, and it's like a mixture of corn dough and water to have it's like stardust, the just like strength and kind of sturdy of the thread to be well prepared for weaving. So this is Nana Ibin in her house in Barangay, I forgot the name, I'm sorry. Oh, well, very close to vegan. And she is preparing the thread. I mean, I'm sorry, she's agatoli the thread. She's starching. So my question was, is it possible that the Spanish administrators in the Philippines or in Mexico really could know the meaning of agatoli? That would be a knowledge that Spanish had, or could it be a procedure shared by weavers, Filipino and Mexican women weavers? These names and these procedures for traditional textiles. So I am finishing now. If any proposal this presentation has, it is that we can think about our history beyond domination, beyond the dominators. Our societies experience having been subjects of the Spanish, but there are also many other traits that we share. Other ways of doing history can help us recover that truth. I would like to acknowledge to the weavers from the Philippines that so kindly welcomed me to watch, admire, and register their beautiful work. Those that answered my questions, that shared their meals with me, that also asked me many questions about Mexico when I was there. These are the places that I could be in the 2 or 3 places, the 2 opportunities that I have to be in the Philippines. From Ilocos Norte, and these are the names, I don't want to be so redundant, you can read them, but also in the area of the indigenous people of the Cordillera, but also in other islands from the Visayas, like Negros, like Iloilo, like Panay, and also in Cebu, and of course in South Cotabato and Maragui in Lanao del Sur. These are the institutions that were so kind with me in the Philippines, that opened up to me their repositories to watch and to study and to even facilitate me so much of my textile research. And these are the names of only some of the many, many friends I made there in the Philippines. And I want to, well, of course, are many, many others that are not registered here, but those are never left my heart. So maraming salamat po. Gracias, muchísimas gracias.
Thank you very much, Dr. Amalia, for that wonderful presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, the floor is now open for your questions and comments. Yes, Mr. Ignacio, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Good evening, buenas noches, doctora, and thank you so much for the presentation. It was truly fascinating, and I will take the risk to say it was probably one of the best, at least for me, it was one of my favorites. You made one claim, perhaps it's just a small detail, but this kind of details are important, at least for me. You mentioned that most of the goods which were supposed to be exported from, of course, from the colonies in Asia throughout Mexico and then to Spain, and then we have this situation in which more of the goods, more of the cargo stay here in New Spain. So, of course, I would like to know what are your primary sources to enforce that claim? From where you take those data, those numbers? Did you have access to any kind of inventories? I don't know, statements about the cargo or something like that?
Well, yes, the archives in Mexico, the National Archive, Archivo General de la Nación, is very, very, you can find important information about that. But if you are not or trained, or you don't want to go to that, you don't want to go to that process, that path that is.
I want to get a fungus in my
in your hands. My main source for that is the extraordinary work of the Mexican historian Carmen Yuste, and she is the head, or she was the head of a very important line of Mexican historiography of the galleon. You know, there are several schools of thought about the galleon. There is a Spanish school, there is a Mexican school, there is an American school also. But the Mexican school of the galleon discovered, like Dr. Yuste, that that's why Spanish were so angry with the Manila galleon, because they couldn't have, they didn't enjoy the benefits for that. So that's why the Compañía de Filipinas, the other company, went through to go directly or from Spain to the Philippines, in order to skip those merchants from Mexico, because Mexican markets were very, very eager of Asian goods. So if you follow Dr. Carmen Yuste, also Mariano Bonial, and there are so many of the historians that are stating that.
Doctora, very quickly, any book or any research, any article perhaps that you can recommend to us?
Well, my memory is not as good now, so yes, I can do that. If you let me, perhaps in the chat, I will write my email, and if you send me a message, of course, that would be, I will answer that.
I totally understand your situation, believe me. So if you can just give me the data, the specific data later, it will be perfectly fine. And again, doctora, muchas gracias, and really, it was one of my favorites indeed.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thanks to you.
Thank you, Mr. Ignacio. We do have some questions, Dr. Amalia, in the chat chat box. From Mr. Ricardo Pinzon, he was asking, how come does the Philippines and Mexico have the same tejido de cintura? He believes that someone taught the other. How could this have happened?
Well, there is, well, in cultural relations, there are some like influence. Some culture can influence another from another place. But in this case, the telar de cintura, the backstrap loom, there were both developed locally in both places, simultaneously, but independently. So women from the Philippines and also from Southeast Asia, and women from all America, from North America to the Andes and South, had the same technology. Women were the weavers. But with that tool, you can improve or change or adapt materials and different iconographies and other stuff. So that's something fascinating, don't you think? That is the same set of tools that are independent from, they were developed independently.
Thank you, Doctora. Sir Mark, the floor is yours.
Uh, Good morning, Sir NJ. Hi, ma'am. I'm from the Philippines, so I'm saying good morning. Good. I think it's good
Good
evening
morning.
there.
Maraming
So, actually, I have some questions, but let me start with because you mentioned about the tinalak. So, and there's a story behind any woven material or weaving culture, like for example, for the tinalak it's mostly or exclusively woven by women, no? Because they have the story behind that. It's a gift, no, from their Tiboli goddess. I think it's Pudalu, if I'm not mistaken. But this leads me to my question. How do cultural narratives or folk narratives relate to Mexico's weaving culture? Because we have that kind of story in our traditions. But do we have the same thing for the Mexican weaving culture? Some folk narratives that you can share? Thank
Oh,
you.
thank you, Mark Ritchie. Good morning in the Philippines. Yes, the traditional backstrap loom weaving tradition, well, weaving in Mexico is mostly with for women. So these different cultures in all over Mexico that I have woven centuries and centuries and centuries back, they have, yes, this cosmology, this mythology, these narratives that link the weaving knowledge to, of course, something that is passed from goddesses to women. In many places like the Maya culture, one of the main Ixchel, one of the main goddess, is she's a weaver. So we have a lot of cosmologies that and cosmogonies that also tell us about the origins of the weaving as something sacred. Nowadays, not all places, not all cultures relate with goddesses, their work, because some, and I think it happens also in the Philippines, some of the women weave and make garments for the market. So not necessarily it's a sacred job, but they are also some pieces of some weaves are also, perhaps what I want to say is maybe a weaver can be very oriented to the market. But if there is a feast, a ceremonial in the community where she belongs, she perhaps will weave a textile for the I don't know, the Virgin, because in Mexico we're mainly people is mainly Catholic, so Catholicism is very syncretic with traditional religions. So the weavings of the women are very, very linked to religion.
Thank you so much, ma'am. That's a great elaboration. Thank you po.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sir Mark, for that question. Dr. Amalia, we do have a question from Ms. Hannah Sanchez. She's asking if you've ever explored using abaca fiber in producing textile, especially those products from the province of Catanduanes in southern Luzon.
No, I haven't been there. I have worked, well, I have seen the work because I am not a weaver. I am so bad with my hands, I'm sorry. And with my, it is so hard work and hard in concentration. That's why I admire them, the weavers, so much. I've been in the South Cotabato, where I've seen the process of obtaining the fiber, the abaca fiber, but only there. So I haven't been in other places in the Philippines that work with abaca, but I promise to go back to the Philippines because there is so much things for me to learn and to experience that would be great to see, right? In Catanduanes, did you say?
Yes, in the province of Catanduanes in southern Luzon.
Catanduanes. Oh, well, great. Thank you for. I will note that for my next trip.
That's right. Do we have other questions from our audience? Mr. Mark?
Yes, sir, please. Just the last one because no one is asking a question. So, hi, ma'am. Again, this one I want to ask if what are the sustainable programs for cultural heritage conservation relevant to weaving culture that we Filipinos can learn from Mexico?
Oh, I don't know, but because I am so focused on learning from the Philippines. But well, for example, I happen to work in a university, the University Indigenous Intercultural from Michoacan. Michoacan is the name of the state where I live, and I work in the program, the academic program with art and cultural heritage. So as a university, we have a program of I can find the word in English too, because it's not the recovery, but we are very much occupied to the works or traditions at risk, because there are plenty of menaces of traditional knowledge. So, and we are focused on the hand and the artisans and handmade products. For me, in my line for that is the textiles. And we, I guess, I cannot say we are very successful, but one of our strategies is very, I guess it's very important to bring to weavers. Master weavers are my colleagues in the university. So their knowledge is like, they are like professors like me. And it is very, very important. Perhaps these women didn't go to school, but in my university, that is not important at all because they have this so deep knowledge about their work that become professors. So for me, that is a very important step for in many levels. In this level of the what knowledge is and the titles you can get at university, I guess acknowledging that their wisdom is very important. And that's one of many that I can tell you, but perhaps I don't have a lot of time to explain that. But as I said, I would love to, if you send me an email, I will I don't know, ask my dear friends from the embassy to share my email with those who want to. And of course, we can have more particular conversations and interchange of experiences later.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I'm interested to have your email as well. Thank you, po.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sir Mark. We do have another question from Ms. Hannah Sanchez. Dr. Amalia, she's asking if you have any idea about the Saori weaving being popularized in Japan.
Saori weaving. Oh, I am sorry. I am not. Perhaps it is the word that I haven't registered, but no, I haven't had field work in Japan. I've been in Japan, but only admiring pieces, mostly of silk and cotton, and traditional kimonos and haoris and that. But I am not very deep. No, I don't have a deep knowledge of Japan traditions in Japanese fibers. I'm sorry. Oh,
Okay.
I'm sorry. Is Jorge Bayona and writing? He's a person here, and we met in Ateneo de Manila. We were at the IPC in Manila. Hi, Jorge. Hola.
Yes. Ma'am, we would like to call on Miss Rachel Lozada. According to Miss Rachel in the comments, she has a short feedback to share. Miss Rachel, are you here?
Yes. Hola.
Oh, Rachel. Hola.
Hola, profesora, compañera. I keep missing you when I was in the Philippines earlier, but then I left and then you've done. So such an excellent and inspiring presentation as always. And so I intentionally wore my Inabel. So when I started weaving, so I'm a Filipino immigrant here in San Francisco, California, late blooming weaver, struggled to try to weave Ilocano weaving with a Western loom. But anyway, so when I started weaving, my teachers for thread or pedal loom weaving were giving away some old magazines because the program was closing down. And I would see, oh my God, this pattern is called Blooming Flower of Mexico. Oh. And I would go to my teacher, books and old magazines. I was shaking. This is cultural appropriation. Because in Ilocano weaving, Ilocano weavers call this linga-linga, like sesame seed pods. Instead of the 4-leaf blossom that they see, that Mexicans saw here, you see the 4-leaf? They saw that as sesame pods, where if you break the pods, the sesame seeds would be inside. So I was like, but then the magazine is from like the 1930s. So I was like, ah. And then I sat down, I was still shaking. And then a light bulb went off. I said, oh, the galleon train. So I said, and then whenever I told the story to Marian Pastor Roses, who are probably very familiar to most of the Filipinos here, I said, like, I was fixated on, like, how do I find out where it originated? And she said, Rachel, do not go there. You do not have to go there. Why can't we simply think in a non-Western way? Nobody has to own the origins. Origins can happen in a non-linear way in 2 or multiple places all over the earth, the world. without having to one culture claiming that we own this or we started it. The creativity is there, or if one culture adopted it, it still speaks to the ingenuity and artistry of that adapting culture, that they can be brought to them a piece of cloth, a weaving, and then they'll figure out how to, reverse, reverse, like how to figure out how to weave it and
Yeah.
create it, but they will call it something different. But I can choose to call it both blooming flower of Mexico and sesame seeds.
Oh, thank you very much for your insight. First, you're wearing a beautiful piece. You're wearing right. It's beautiful, but I agree with Dr. Marian Pastor Roses. We are so sometimes, in particular scholars, we are so into the roots of things, and I guess people with this practice knowledge, like weaving, they are so the word is flexible. If they choose a new material, they will use it. If they think of a new pattern, they will do it. I've been asked with friends of weaver friends that tell me, oh, please lend me your blouse because I want to reproduce your pattern. Oh, okay. So if you have the ability to do that, why don't? Why not, right? And it's not a matter of appropriation, because it's a different logic for that. It's not focused on the market, on making money, but for the beauty of that. So it's so interesting what Rachel, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Rachel, for that feedback. Dr. Amalia, I hope you're seeing the chat box. A lot of our participants are enjoying your presentation, like Sir Anthony and Ms. Twinkle. Some of them are also requesting if they can get a copy of your presentation. So I hope that's okay with you, Doctor.
Oh, if I can share a copy of my presentation, I guess so, but perhaps it's easier, I don't know, from the embassy, or also I will please ask you to share my email, and very, very gladly I will share, because I've been so blessed with people so, I don't know, generous, that it would be so, I don't know, I want to honor that by sharing as I've been shared, with knowledge and friendship and that.
Thank you very much, Dr. Amalia. Do we have any other questions before we close the floor?
Thank you very much first for your chat, for your words, your written words in the chat. Thank you very much. And I just want to I hope you would find interesting my ideas and my this journey through this our. I think I always say that we are like cousins, but we are not we don't acknowledge our relation. So it's time for that, to start doing that.
Thank you, Dr. Amalia. Okay, so at this point, I would like to request all participants to kindly indulge us and to please turn on your camera for a group photo. Okay, is everybody ready? In 3, 2, 1. Let me just go to the next slide. Smile, everybody. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. At this point, I'd like to invite Ms. Marissa Winkler, Third Secretary and Vice Consul of the Philippine Embassy here in Mexico, for the closing remarks. Ma'am?
Thank you, NJ. On behalf of the Philippine Embassy in Mexico, I would like to thank Dr. Amalia Ramirez for her fascinating, informative, and thoughtful presentation on the Philippines and Mexican textile weaving traditions. While the focus was on textile weaving traditions, she skillfully guided us through a much broader historical and cultural landscape, one shaped by centuries of contact between the Philippines and Mexico, especially during the Manila-Acapulco galleon trade. Dr. Ramirez highlighted how, despite being on opposite sides of the Pacific, our two countries share striking similarities in their weaving traditions. One of the most amazing things we learned is how similar the ways of weaving are in both countries. This shared weaving method shows us how much we have in common and how art and craft connect cultures across the ocean. To all our participants, thank you so much for being with us tonight. Your support helps keep this program alive. We hope to see you again in the next episode where we'll continue to discover more hidden stories from the shared history of the Philippines and Mexico. Magandang umaga and happy weekend. Magandang gabi dito sa ating mga kababayan sa Mexico and Central America.
Thank you, everyone. Happy Friday, happy weekend, and God bless you po. I hope to see you in the next episode of Philippines Olvidada. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you,
Bless us.
Dr. Amalia.
Maraming salamat po.
We hope to see you again and good luck with your forthcoming visits to the Philippines.
Oh, thank you very much, Ma'am Ambassador. Oh, I hope you liked my presentation.
Yeah, we hope that the next time when you have done more research, you will again grace us with your presence in our Historia Olvidada. If there are new discoveries you've made,
Oh,
we
that would be an